Max Crosby to the Los Angeles Rams. I'll tell you how they could get that deal done. We've got 10 questions the Rams have to answer this offseason, and a stalwart offensive lineman is calling it a career. Who will his replacement be? That's coming up next on the LA Sports Report.
LA is the sports capital of the world. The Lakers have entered their Luka Doncic era. LeBron doesn't just want a farewell tour, he wants a farewell title. The Rams are going to win the Super Bowl. Go, Kings, go! The Dodgers are the best run franchise in all of professional sports. Shohei Ohtani is the GOAT. Steve Ballmer will do anything to get the Clippers a championship. Mick Cronin has to win a national championship at UCLA. Justin Herbert is a top 5 quarterback in this league. College football is just better when USC is good. This whole city has the Mamba mentality. I love LA.
Live from the heart of Los Angeles, this is the LA Sports Report with your host, Doug McKain.
What is up, and welcome to the LA Sports Report. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report as Side, Dodgers Nation, to NFL radio for Westwood One. I'm loyal to the soil. So, of course, I had to start the LA Sports Report. It's a show dedicated to all LA sports. Lots of Rams, but also Dodgers, Lakers, UCLA, USC. They're talking about in the world of LA sports. We're talking about it right here. And on today's episode, we're going to focus on the Los Angeles Rams. And the Rams have a massive offseason to get into. I argue it's the most important offseason in the history of this franchise. That is how pivotal it is. And we got some news yesterday that Rob Havenstein, who has been a Ram since 2015, is calling it a career. He is retiring after 11 seasons with the Los Angeles Rams at age 33. He was the last remaining Ram from the St. Louis days. He's been with this franchise, been so important, been just a rock for the Horns. And his retirement does leave a void at right tackle. But the good news for the Rams is they already have a replacement on the roster for 2026, and it comes in the form of Warren McClendon Jr., the Rams' 5th-round pick in 2023. He just absolutely emerged this past season after Havenstein was on the injured reserve for most of the year with an ankle injury. He stepped in, he played extremely well, and he proved to be an upgrade at that position. So that's going to be a seamless transition in my eyes. I mean, you look at where Havenstein struggled, that's where Warren McClendon really picked it up, because as a backup in 2024, McClendon, he allowed 5 sacks. He had a 51.5 pass blocking grade per PFF in 13 games, 5 starts. But this year is totally different. He started 13 games, including the playoffs. He never allowed more than 5 pressures in a game. He gave up just 2 sacks all year. He finished with an overall grade of 78.7. And among qualified tackles, Warren McClendon's 78.7 grade was the 15th best in the NFL. He allowed 23 pressures. That was tied for the 10th fewest, and only 6 tackles allowed fewer sacks than Warren McClendon, the former Georgia Bulldog. And it was just the passing game, too. As a run blocker, he shined as well, had an 81.9 run blocking grade. That was the 13th best in the National Football League. So he was open up running lanes. And the best thing about this, too, the number one thing is the fact that his salary is at $1.1 million for 2026. He's in the last year of his rookie contract. Now, the Rams could look to extend him before he hits free agency in 2027. That wouldn't be the worst idea, but they could also just let him play out that contract. And if he really plays well again, that tells you it wasn't a fluke, and they could just give him a long-term extension at that point. And yes, of course, you always run the risk of that driving the price up, but still, I think where the Rams are at, you could probably go that route. Sean McVay said of Warren McClendon, he's done great. He's played really well. I'm proud as hell of Warren McClendon. So the Rams, they shouldn't completely just ignore the offensive line this offseason, even though you have a lot of guys returning. DJ Humphries was not good as a backup, and you might want some depth at that position. But at the very least, you've got McClendon as a starter. McVay also said there's no question he's a candidate to be a long-term starter at that spot during his end of the season press conference. So that's another big question the Rams have to answer that they've essentially answered, in that McClendon is going to be at right tackle and Alaric Jackson is going to be at left tackle. And you got Steve Ovelin, Kevin Dotson, Coleman Shelton. So that offensive line is intact, and that definitely is a great starting point for this season. But I want to talk about Max Crosby. I want to talk about his shakeup. One of the big questions the Rams have to answer this season is how all in are they going to be? Are they going to be the kind of all-in where you take off your Rolex watch, you throw it in the middle of the table, you take your wife's earrings, you throw it in the middle of the table, you take the pink slip for the Benz and put it in the middle of the table, do you take your wife's earrings and the lien for the mortgage, you just go all the way in and push those chips in the middle of the table? Because if they are willing to do that, there are some big swing candidates out there. And a guy like Max Crosby, as good as this Rams pass rush was in 2025, they could be even better by adding one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League. And before we talk about how we can get this deal done, well, let's talk about Max Crosby and this obsession it feels like he's had for Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. He's always talking highly of the Los Angeles Rams on his podcast. We know he's good friends with Davante Adams, who he played with the Raiders, and now Davante Adams is on the Rams. We know that he speaks so highly of the Rams, Davante Adams, saying it, he loves playing football again. Well, give a listen to Max Crosby talking about Matthew Stafford.
Stafford's not even, in the top 4 or 5 of MVP race, which I think is disrespectful.
Like, that's one thing, and people gave me shit because some people had certain opinions after we played the Rams, and I was like, bro, you're my favorite player. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'll stand on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grew up literally your biggest fan, bro. No, I'm serious. You're one of the best ever do it, bro.
From being a kid, like, he was that dude. So seeing him get a Super Bowl is like, it would be dope to see Stafford win MVP because people are like, well, is he an Hall of Famer? I'm like, he's been top 5 for 15 years. I don't give a fuck what anyone says.
Okay, so that sounds like a guy who is going to do a jersey exchange with his own teammate after every game if he becomes a Los Angeles Ram. Now, the question is, what would a package look like to be able to bring in Max Crosby? And the first thing I want to point out is the Rams have 2 first-round picks. You're picking at 13 and 29. I think the 13th pick for my perfect offseason, for my dream offseason, I do want to see them go after a playmaker and draft someone like a Mekhi Lemon out of USC, and then possibly sign a free agent cornerback, a Jamel Dean type. I mean, Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs, if you're going to go the trade route with him. And yes, do the Rams have a bigger need than a pass rusher? There's no doubt about it. But I think that when you look at just overall quality of player, when you look at the important positions in the NFL in 2026 and 2027 and moving forward, getting to the quarterback is such a premium. And the Rams showed a couple years ago going out there and getting Von Miller, how important that was to them. And drafting Jared Verse as high as they did and how important that was to them. And it's just difficult to get these guys that have that ability to disrupt games by wreaking havoc on the quarterback in your building. And you do have Byron Young and you do have Jared Verse, but Byron Young is going to be on the last year of his rookie contract. The Rams drafted him in 2023, so they have to decide if they want to give him a new contract. And he's coming off a really good year, a 12-sack season, and he's 27 years old. He's just a year younger than Max Crosby because he was an older prospect. He changed schools a couple different times. A great story. He was working at the Burger Kings and the Dollar Generals of the world, and he was a late bloomer, to say the least. But if you're the Rams and you could get Max Crosby for a 2029 first-round pick at 29, and for a 2027 first-round pick at 29, and Byron Young, a player that you may not be extending, that seems like a deal that would take this defense to the next level. As good as Byron Young is, he's not going to be the player that Max Crosby is. Max Crosby had 10 sacks in 15 games, had a 79.7 overall grade from PFF, but should the Rams add Max Crosby, and would you trade Byron Young and a first-round pick for Max Crosby? Kind of the only thing there, by the way, is he has a big contract, and he's making a lot of money for sure. The contract for Crosby that he signed was a massive deal, and there's no doubt about that, but you kind of get what you pay for at that position unless you get them to hit it early. He signed a 3-year, $106.5 million deal back in March of 2025, $91.5 million guarantee. It guaranteed to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL at the time. So, of course, the numbers are always going up, but you're not going to think about that money if he helps you win a championship. And he's no Aaron Donald, because there is no such thing as another Aaron Donald. Maybe if you're Myles Garrett, that's about it. But we saw how a defensive player can win you a Super Bowl with massive plays. And if you're not going to have that secondary that you can rely on getting to the quarterback as soon as possible and forcing the defense to get that ball out, it's going to help you. By the way, 69.5 sacks, 439 tackles, 11 forced fumbles in his career. And by the way, Jay Glazer has already said that he expects at least 20 teams to call about Max Crosby. So will that even be good enough to get a deal done? We'll see, but the Rams do have the assets. They really do have the assets. It just depends on how badly they want him and how willing they would be to take on that $106.5 million contract. He is certainly not a player that's been happy in Las Vegas. And that is another reason why you don't necessarily look at his stats like, oh, wow, like, hey, this is who he is. No, you look at the guy he could be in this organization. And last year, the top 100, he was ranked as a 22nd best player at that, as overall player in the National Football League. And I think with the Rams, you're looking at a guy who could really be a top 15 to 20 guy. So whether it be a Max Crosby, whether that be a Trent McDuffie, look, these are the kind of names, these are the kind of big swings that you talk about when you're going all in. So I just want to throw that out there. Now, if you're the Rams, you look at two, there's been some talk about how this is a weak quarterback draft, but you got guys like Nussmeier at LSU and Ty Simpson and names like that. I just don't think that this is the draft where you draft a quarterback. I think that you understand that there's a sustainability that you want to go for in this organization. You don't want to fall off a cliff, but still you also want to respect the fact that you might have just 1 year left with Matthew Stafford. So Max Crosby to the Rams, unbelievable thought and possibility. Now, other big questions, and we're going to kind of make this as another part of the series, is, speaking of those extensions, will Puka Nacua and the other 2023 draftees get new contracts? Because you got so many of those guys that are up for new deals. You got Puka Nacua, the best example. He's going to sign a deal upwards $156+ million. And by the way, yes, Puka Nacua was a little wasted, and that video went viral at the Super Bowl. Last time I checked, that he had a guy handling him. He also went to the back of an SUV, wasn't driving drunk. I mean, let him live, bro. Like, let Puka Nacua live. Just want to kind of say that. I was more upset about the Sam Darnold tweet because I just felt like, what's that about? But as far as the getting wasted on Super Bowl night, like, I mean, come on, man. Like, he's not hurting anybody. He's not doing anything illegal. So I don't know what the big fuss is about that. Now, as far as Byron Young, that's a question. Steve Avila, Kobe Turner, those are all candidates. Warren McClendon Jr., we talked about that. So it's going to be a good business decision to get in front of a lot of these contracts because you don't want players to hit free agency in 2027 because, one, the salary cap is going up, so teams can have more money to spend, and then B, the prices are going to go up too. Today's price isn't yesterday's price. And, of course, the top priority there has to be Puka Nacua. He has already proven to be one of, if not the best receivers in the National Football League. So you can't even let him get close to free agency. That would be a huge misstep by this Rams organization. You got to get that extension done as soon as you possibly can, in my eyes. And I think Kobe Turner, too. I mean, he's someone that doesn't get the pub that some other players around the league get because he does a lot of dirty work at his position. But not only has he been a great player for the Rams, he's also been a great leader. And I think he's part of the culture of this franchise. Now, I think Byron Young, if they keep him, and Steve Avila, if they keep him, you are more likely to wait on those guys just because Avila's dealt with some injuries, and Byron Young, you want to kind of see how that production evolves, because that's a position where there's a lot of demand and you have to make a big investment at that position. But I do think that certainly that's an area where you can look at is the first two, get those deals done formerly, and you also add Warren McClendon into that mix as well. Another big question, too, is the wide receiver 3 spot. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's LA Sports Report for sure. But if you're new to the show, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, drop a like, drop a comment. But that's going to do it for this episode. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, remember that LA is the city of champions.